The Starweaver's bridge fell silent as senior researcher Kexley adjusted her crystalline viewing apparatus. Her 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of intense concentration among her species. The holographic display before her showed something that, by all accounts of known physics, should not exist: a perfect sphere of nothingness against the backdrop of the Carina Nebula. "Captain Mithril," she called out, her voice carrying the distinctive harmonic overtones of the Sulithid race. "I believe we've encountered something unprecedented." The captain, a veteran of countless survey missions, glided across the bridge on his hover platform. His weathered carapace reflected the soft blue lighting of the bridge's instrumentation. "Unprecedented is a strong word, researcher Kexley. We've mapped countless spatial anomalies in this sector." "With respect, Captain, this is different." Kexley manipulated the controls, enhancing the visualization. "The void isn't consuming energy or matter. It's returning it." As if responding to her words, the sphere began to pulse. Waves of quantum displacement rippled across its surface, sending the Starweaver's sensors into a frenzy of contradictory readings. Emergency klaxons blared as the ship's safety protocols detected potential spacetime distortions. "All hands, maintain distance," Captain Mithril ordered, his command echoing through the ship's communication network. "Auxiliary power to forward shields." The sphere's surface suddenly shimmered like liquid mercury, and from its depths emerged the bow of a massive vessel. The ship's hull was unlike anything in Coalition records, sleek despite its enormous size, with angular sections that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. As it continued to materialize, the crew could make out markings in an ancient human script. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Van, the ship's human liaison officer, stepping forward with wide eyes. That's the Earth Defense Force insignia. But it's different from any design in our historical archives." The mysterious vessel's emergence continued for nearly 20 minutes, its full length eventually dwarfing the Starweaver. Its hull bore signs of advanced technology that even modern shipyards couldn't replicate: metamaterial plating that shifted colors like an oil slick, and what appeared to be temporal stabilization arrays along its spine. "Configuration matches no known human vessel," reported the sensor officer, their tentacles dancing across the control interface. "But material composition indicates human manufacturing methods. Age estimate. Processing. The officer paused, running the analysis again. 342 standard years, with a margin of error of plus or minus 5 years. Dr. Van's hands trembled as he accessed his personal database. "That timing, it matches the disappearance of the EDF Hyperion. But this can't be the same ship. The Hyperion was a myth, a story told to children about humanity's golden age of exploration." Kexley zoomed in on a section of the hull where the ship's name was barely visible beneath centuries of space dust. EDF HFY AC-100 and 17. "It was never a myth," Dr. Van said softly. "It was waiting." Captain Mithril's command antennae twitched, a sign of deep thought among his people. "Begin standard first contact protocols. Dr. Van, contact Coalition Command and Earth's representatives. Researcher Kexley, establish a passive scan perimeter. Let's not make any assumptions about a vessel that's apparently mastered temporal displacement." As the crew rushed to follow orders, the Hyperion hung motionless in space, its running lights slowly blinking to life one section at a time. The ship's size became even more apparent as its illumination revealed weapon systems that made modern Coalition dreadnoughts look primitive by comparison. "Captain," called out the sensor officer, "I'm detecting active power signatures. The ship's systems are operational." "Impossible," Dr. Van interjected. "After 3 centuries, no power system shoaled." He was cut off by a sudden burst of light from the Hyperion. A holographic message appeared in the space between the two ships, displaying text in every known Coalition language. "Timeline convergence confirmed. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting authorized personnel for initialization sequence." The bridge crew exchanged glances, each species expressing confusion in their own way. They had just witnessed the return of a legendary vessel, but one question burned in everyone's minds. Why had humanity's most advanced warship chosen this moment to reappear? Captain Mithril's voice cut through the tension. "Send word to Coalition Command. Priority 1. The Hyperion has returned, and I suspect this is only the beginning." Coalition investigators swarmed through the Hyperion's cavernous corridors, their footsteps echoing against the pristine metal floors. Dr. Maya Rodriguez led the human contingent of the research team, her handheld scanner sweeping methodically across surfaces that hadn't felt a human touch in centuries. "The atmospheric systems are still functioning perfectly," she noted, watching her breath mist in the cool air. "It's as if the ship was serviced yesterday, not 300 years ago." Behind her, Professor Zextani, a leading coalition archaeologist, examined the walls with specialized sensor arrays. His bioluminescent appendages pulsed with excitement as he worked. The molecular integrity of these materials shows virtually no degradation. By all conventional physics, this should be impossible. The team reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 branches. Holographic markers sprang to life as they approached, displaying directional information in ancient Earth military format. Maya's translator automatically converted the text. Bridge, port, engineering, starboard, crew quarters, forward. "The power systems are still responding to movement," Maya observed. "But where's the crew? A ship this size would have needed thousands of personnel." Their answer came in the form of a subtle humming that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. A holographic interface materialized before them, displaying a ship-wide diagnostic overlay. The text scrolled in multiple languages, ancient and modern. "Look at this," Professor Zextani called out, his translator struggling with the excitement in his voice. "These readings suggest the quantum computers are not just operational, they're actively processing data. They've been running calculations this entire time." Maya approached a nearby terminal, her fingers hovering over the interface. The screen responded to her presence, requesting genetic verification. She pressed her palm against the scanner, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, the screen flashed green. "Partial access granted," announced a synthetic voice. "Genetic markers indicate familial connection to Secondary Science Officer Rodriguez, Elena Maria. Security protocols remain in effect. Limited historical data available." The assembled researchers clustered around the terminal as Maya navigated through the accessible files. "These are mission logs," she explained, her voice tight with concentration. "But they're fragmented, encoded with some kind of temporal encryption. It's as if they were deliberately scattered across time itself." Professor Zextani's appendages rippled with concern. "The computational power required for temporal encryption. Dr. Rodriguez, I believe we're dealing with technology far beyond current coalition capabilities." Maya opened another file, and a holographic representation of the Hyperion's bridge appeared before them. It showed the final recorded moments before the ship's disappearance. Crew members moving with purpose, not panic, as they initiated what appeared to be a carefully planned sequence of events. "They knew what they were doing," Maya whispered. "This wasn't an accident or a desperate escape. They were following a protocol." The investigation team pushed deeper into the ship, discovering more signs of deliberate preparation. Storage bays were filled with preserved supplies, weapon systems were maintained in perfect readiness, and the ship's vast library contained technical documentation far beyond current understanding. In engineering, they found the quantum core, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with ethereal light. Dr. Kenna, the Coalition's leading expert in temporal mechanics, stared at it in awe. "The energy readings are astronomical," she reported, her scales shifting color with excitement. "This isn't just a power source. It's a temporal anchor point. The Hyperion didn't just disappear. It stepped outside of time itself." Maya accessed another terminal, and this time, a different message appeared. "Genetic key recognized. Partial historical record unlocked. Warning, Full activation requires primary authorization. The terminal displayed a video log. In it, a woman wearing an Earth Defense Force uniform spoke directly to the camera. Maya felt her breath catch. The woman's features mirrored her own. "This is Science Officer Elena Rodriguez, recording final pretemporal shift procedures," the woman said. "If you are seeing this, you carry our genetic markers. The Hyperion's mission extends beyond time itself. We are the guardians of tomorrow, waiting for the moment we're needed most. Find the rest of the keys. Wake the ship. The clock is ticking." The message ended, leaving the investigation team in stunned silence. Maya stared at the terminal, her mind racing with implications. The Hyperion wasn't just a lost ship. It was a message in a bottle, sent forward through time by her own ancestors. And somewhere in its encrypted databases lay the reason why. The Coalition Council chamber hummed with tense energy as Dr. Rodriguez presented her preliminary findings. The vast amphitheater, designed to accommodate representatives of 17 different species, focused intently on the holographic display of the Hyperion floating above the central podium. The decoded messages suggest a level of technological advancement that exceeds our current understanding, Maya explained, highlighting specific sections of the ship. The quantum core alone operates on principles we've only theorized about. But what's most intriguing is the purpose behind its temporal displacement. Ambassador Chen of Earth's unified government leaned forward, her ceremonial robes shifting like liquid silver. "Have you determined why my predecessors would commit our most advanced vessel to such a long-term strategy?" Maya manipulated the hologram, zooming in on the ship's encrypted data cores. Each decoded message reveals another layer of complexity. The ship's eye remains dormant, but its passive systems are processing astronomical data spanning centuries. It's been watching, waiting for specific conditions to align. From the upper tier, Representative Kittel of the Arvanian Collective raised his crystalline appendage. "This vessel represents a clear violation of the technology containment treaties. Its mere existence threatens the balance of power we've maintained for generations." "With respect, Representative," Maya countered, "the Hyperion predates those treaties by centuries. Its technology was never officially surrendered or contained. It simply existed outside our temporal reference frame." The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions, each species' universal translator struggling to keep pace with the various forms of communication. Ambassador Chen remained notably calm, her expression revealing nothing as she observed the chaos. Maya continued her presentation, bringing up the latest decoded sensor logs. "Yesterday, we successfully accessed another layer of encrypted data. The Hyperion wasn't just recording astronomical data, it was analyzing patterns on a galactic scale. Something made Earth's leadership believe they needed a safeguard that would survive centuries." The hologram shifted to display a series of complex mathematical equations that spiraled through space. Professor Zextani, now serving as the scientific liaison to the Council, moved his appendages in recognition. "These calculations," he announced, his translator struggling to convey his excitement. "They're modeling quantum field fluctuations across multiple dimensional planes. The complexity is beyond anything in our current scientific framework." Ambassador Chen finally spoke again, her voice carrying across the chamber with practiced authority. "The Earth Unified Government has reviewed Dr. Rodriguez's findings. We propose a joint research initiative, combining coalition expertise with Earth's historical records to understand the Hyperion's purpose and its weapons." Kittel demanded. "Are we to ignore the fact that this vessel carries military technology centuries ahead of our most advanced systems?" Maya brought up another hologram, the image of her great-grandmother's final recorded message. "Science Officer Rodriguez's logs make it clear. The Hyperion's mission transcends military power. Every weapon, every system, was designed with a specific purpose in mind. We just don't know what that purpose is yet." The Council's chief administrator, a towering figure of shifting plasma contained within an environmental field, moved to the center of the chamber. "The Coalition faces an unprecedented situation. This vessel, regardless of its origin, now exists in our time. Its technology, its purpose, and its implications must be understood. Ambassador Chen nodded in agreement. Earth will comply with all reasonable security measures. We ask only that Dr. Rodriguez be allowed to continue her research with full access to the ship's systems. After all, her genetic connection may be the key to unlocking its secrets. Maya felt the weight of the Council's collective attention. She brought up one final hologram, a star chart showing subtle anomalies that the Hyperion had been tracking across centuries. "Whatever's coming," she said, her voice firm. "Whatever my ancestors saw that made them send their most advanced ship through time itself, it was important enough to wait 300 years for the right moment. I don't believe that's a coincidence." The Chief Administrator's plasma form pulsed thoughtfully. "The Council will deliberate. In the meantime, Dr. Rodriguez, continue your investigation, but be warned. If we detect any attempt to activate the ship's military systems without authorization, the consequences will be severe." As the session ended, Maya caught Ambassador Chen's eye. The older woman's slight nod confirmed what Maya had suspected. Earth knew more than they were revealing. The question was, how long could they keep the truth contained? The Hyperion's secrets were beginning to unravel, and with them, the delicate balance of galactic power hung in the balance. The Hyperion's quantum core chamber pulsed with otherworldly light as Dr. Rodriguez and her team prepared for the AI activation sequence. Professor Zextani monitored the energy fluctuations while Coalition security officers maintained a careful perimeter around the sensitive equipment. "Primary quantum matrices aligned," Maya announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Genetic verification sequence initiating." She pressed her palm against the scanner, watching as ancient algorithms analyzed her DNA structure. The chamber's lighting shifted to a deep blue as the ship's systems responded. A voice, neither male nor female, filled the space. "Genetic profile confirmed. Ancestral link to Science Officer Elena Rodriguez verified. Initiating primary AI core startup sequence." The quantum core's crystalline structure began to pulse with increasing intensity. Streams of data cascaded across multiple holographic displays, showing the AI's neural pathways forming and connecting. Professor Zextani's appendages flickered rapidly as he processed the readings. "The complexity of these neural patterns is astounding," he observed. "The AI isn't just awakening, it's reconstructing itself from quantum-encrypted fragments. Your ancestors designed it to preserve its complete knowledge base through temporal displacement." Maya watched as the AI took shape, its consciousness emerging from centuries of dormancy. The holographic displays coalesced into a singular interface, and a figure materialized, an abstract representation of interweaving light patterns that seemed to breathe with artificial life. "I am HFY," the AI announced, its voice resonating with subtle harmonics, adaptive temporal hierarchy, and enhanced neural architecture. "It's been exactly 342 years, 7 months, and 13 days since my last active status." Coalition security officers shifted nervously, their weapons trained on various sensor points around the chamber. Maya stepped forward, her heart racing with anticipation. "Athena, I'm Dr. Maya Rodriguez. Can you tell us why the Hyperion was sent through time?" The AI's form shifted, displaying complex mathematical models. "The complete answer to that question requires higher security clearance. However, I can confirm that the Hyperion's temporal displacement was part of Operation Long Watch, a strategic initiative designed to preserve humanity's most advanced defensive capabilities for a specific future scenario." Professor Zextani moved closer, his sensor arrays scanning Athena's quantum signatures. "The power requirements for maintaining an eye of this complexity through temporal stasis are beyond our current theoretical limits. How did your creators achieve this?" "The quantum core utilizes principles of temporal recursion," HFY explained, generating detailed technical schematics. "By existing partially outside normal spacetime, the system could maintain operational status indefinitely while consuming minimal actual energy." Maya studied the schematics, her eyes widening. "These designs, They're not just advanced versions of existing technology. They're based on completely different physical principles than anything we use today. Correct, HFY confirmed. The Hyperion's technology was developed in response to specific requirements for its mission. Standard military technology would have been insufficient. A warning klaxon suddenly blared through the chamber. Athena's form flickered as new data streamed across the displays. Alert. Temporal markers detected. Beginning analysis of current space-time coordinates against mission parameters. The quantum core's pulsing intensified, and new holographic windows appeared, showing astronomical data spanning centuries. Maya watched as patterns emerged, subtle distortions in space-time that the Hyperion had been tracking since before its displacement. The patterns are accelerating, HFY announced. Probability matrices suggest approaching convergence with primary mission parameters. Professor Zextani's appendages twisted in concern. These distortions, they're similar to theoretical models of quantum-scale space-time degradation, but the scale is impossible. Security protocol update. HFY interrupted. Based on current readings, additional genetic verification is required for full mission disclosure. Dr. Rodriguez, there are other descendants among Earth's population. They must be found. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Other descendants. How many? 7, HFY replied. Each carries genetic markers corresponding to the Hyperion's original command staff. United, they can authorize full mission protocols and weapons activation. The Coalition security officers exchanged worried glances. One of them activated their communication link to command. Council must be notified immediately. Threat assessment protocols require. Belay that, Maya interrupted, her voice firm. HFY isn't a threat. It's a guardian. Whatever's coming, my ancestors thought it was important enough to send their most advanced AI through time to help us face it. The chamber fell silent except for the gentle humming of the quantum core. Athena's form shifted again, resolving into a pattern that somehow managed to convey both urgency and patience. Find the others, Dr. Rodriguez, the AI said softly. Time is no longer on our side. The Coalition Council's emergency session reached its third hour as Ambassador Chen maintained her composed demeanor despite the growing hostility in the chamber. Representatives from 17 species argued over the implications of HFY's activation, their universal translators struggling to keep pace with the heated exchanges. The existence of 7 genetic keys cannot be coincidental, Representative Catal insisted, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. Earth deliberately engineered this situation, seeding their population with sleeper agents across generations. Ambassador Chen's response was measured, calculated. The descendants of the Hyperion's crew lived their lives unaware of their heritage. They are scientists, teachers, artists, not agents of some centuries-old conspiracy. Maya stood at the presentation podium, surrounded by holographic displays showing the latest data from HFY's temporal sensors. Professor Zextani hovered nearby, his appendages moving in complex patterns as he analyzed the readings. The quantum distortions are increasing exponentially, Maya reported, highlighting specific regions of space. Athena's calculations suggest these aren't random anomalies. They're precursors to something larger. The chief administrator's plasma form shifted colors as they processed the information. Dr. Rodriguez, your genetic connection to this AI makes your objectivity questionable. How can we trust that these readings aren't fabricated to justify activating the Hyperion's weapons? Because we're not the only ones seeing them, Professor Zextani interjected, bringing up new data streams. Long-range sensors across Coalition space are detecting similar anomalies. They're subtle, but they match HFY's predictions perfectly. The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions again. Maya noticed Ambassador Chen checking a small device discreetly. Something was happening beyond these chambers. We've located another descendant, Chen announced suddenly, silencing the chaos. Dr. Sarah Martinez, quantum physicist at the Europa Research Station, Her genetic profile matches one of the 7 markers. Kettle's crystalline surface fractured with concern. You've been searching without council authorization. This is a direct violation of what? Chen interrupted, her calm facade cracking slightly. There are no regulations governing time-displaced genetic protocols. The Hyperion exists outside our normal framework of laws and treaties. Maya brought up new sensor readings, her hand steady despite her racing heart. The distortions are beginning to affect local space-time stability. 3 outposts in the Carina sector have reported equipment failures consistent with quantum field disruption. The chief administrator's form pulsed rapidly, their species equivalent of a deep sigh. Perhaps we should consider allowing Dr. Martinez to examine the Hyperion. Under strict supervision, of course. The time for half measures has passed, came a new voice. Athena's holographic form materialized above the chamber's central display, causing several security officers to raise their weapons. How did it access our systems? Call demanded. I didn't, Athena replied. I'm still confined to the Hyperion. This is merely a real-time projection of what my sensors are detecting. The AI generated a massive stellar map showing spreading patterns of quantum distortion. These disruptions follow a specific mathematical progression, the same progression that convinced Earth's leaders to initiate Operation Longwatch 3 centuries ago. Maya studied the patterns, her scientific training warring with her sense of disbelief. These aren't random effects. They're deliberate. Something is systematically destabilizing space-time across entire sectors. Impossible, Catal scoffed. No known species possesses such capability. Correct, Athena acknowledged. No known species. The implications of that statement hung heavy in the chamber. Ambassador Chen stood, her authority evident in every movement. The Earth Unified Government requests emergency powers to locate and secure the remaining genetic key holders. We can debate politics after we understand what we're facing. The Chief Administrator's plasma form swirled thoughtfully. The Council must vote. Until then, Dr. Rodriguez and Professor Zextani will continue their investigation. Ambassador Chen, your government will provide full details on Dr. Martinez immediately. As the session adjourned, Maya caught Ambassador Chen's eye again. The older woman gestured subtly for her to follow. In a private chamber, Chen finally revealed what she'd been checking earlier. We didn't just find Dr. Martinez, she said quietly. We found 2 others. They're already on their way to the Hyperion. Maya felt the weight of centuries pressing down on her shoulders. How long have you known about them? Long enough to know that your ancestors were right, Chen replied. The storm is coming, Dr. Rodriguez. Let's hope we can gather all 7 before it breaks. Outside the council chambers, the stars continued their eternal dance, while beneath their light, ancient plans set in motion by long-dead visionaries slowly approached their moment of truth. The Hyperion's bridge hummed with activity as 5 of the 7 genetic descendants gathered around Athena's central interface. Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood with Dr. Sarah Martinez, Commander James Chen, Dr. Alexei Petrov, and Captain Diana Wallace, each carrying the legacy of the original crew in their DNA. Partial activation sequence complete, Athena announced, its holographic form expanding to encompass the bridge. With 5 genetic keys present, I can now reveal 70% of the Hyperion's primary mission parameters. The quantum core's energy pulsed through the ship's neural networks, bringing dormant systems online. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing 3 centuries of compiled data. In 2685, Earth's deep space sensors detected an anomaly moving through the void between galaxies, Athena explained. Initial analysis suggested it was a natural phenomenon, a wave of quantum instability that consumed everything in its path. Further investigation revealed something far more troubling. The AI projected a series of complex sensor readings. Dr. Martinez, her expertise in quantum physics evident, stepped forward with wide eyes. These patterns, they're not random. They show clear signs of artificial manipulation. Correct, HFY confirmed. The wave isn't a natural occurrence. It's a weapon, or more precisely, a form of galaxy-scale harvesting technology. It breaks down matter at the quantum level, converting entire star systems into usable energy. Commander Chen studied the tactical displays with a military officer's precision. The Coalition's current defense systems wouldn't even register on this scale of power. We'd be helpless. That's why the Hyperion was sent forward. Maya realized, pieces finally clicking into place. Our ancestors couldn't fight this threat with the technology of their time. They needed centuries of advancement just to understand what they were seeing. Athena's form shifted, displaying new data streams. The Hyperion's temporal displacement wasn't just about preserving technology. The ship's systems were designed to study the quantum wave's patterns across centuries, identifying weaknesses that could be exploited. "And have you found any?" Captain Wallace asked, her hands running along the tactical console with familiar ease, despite never having served on a starship. "Several," Athena replied. "But implementing countermeasures requires full genetic authentication. We need all 7 descendants." Dr. Petrov, who had been quietly analyzing the ship's engineering data, looked up. "The remaining 2, do we know who they are?" Maya exchanged glances with Ambassador Chen, who had been observing from the background. The ambassador nodded, giving silent permission to reveal what they knew. "Dr. Maria Santos is en route from the Mars Academia," Maya explained. "But the 7th descendant." She paused, the weight of the revelation heavy in her chest. "The 7th genetic marker belongs to Representative Kutl's chief scientific advisor." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Kutl had been one of the most vocal opponents of activating the Hyperion systems. How is that possible? Commander Chen demanded. "A non-human carrying human genetic markers." "Because 3 centuries ago, humanity wasn't working alone," Athena explained. The Hyperion's crew included the first successful human-alien hybrid scientist. Their genetic legacy was carefully preserved through generations of Kutl species, waiting for this moment. New alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. The tactical displays shifted, showing real-time sensor data from Coalition space. "Multiple quantum distortions detected," Athena reported. "Pattern match, 98%. The wave has entered the outer boundaries of Coalition territory." Captain Wallace moved to the tactical station as if she'd trained there all her life. Genetic memory asserting itself. "How long do we have?" "At current velocity, 72 hours until first contact with populated systems." Ambassador Chen activated her emergency communicator. "I'll inform the Council. Dr. Santos should arrive within 12 hours, but Kutl's advisor will require some convincing," Maya finished. She turned to the others, seeing the same determination in their eyes. "Our ancestors spent 3 centuries preparing us for this moment. We need to find a way to convince Kutl that his own species was part of this plan from the beginning." Athena's form pulsed with increasing urgency. The quantum wave's trajectory indicates deliberate course corrections. It's not just a weapon, it's being guided. Whatever intelligence controls it, they've had 3 centuries to evolve their technology as well. The descendants shared knowing looks. Their ancestors had given them the tools, but they would have to find the courage to use them. Somewhere in Coalition space, 2 more genetic keys waited to be united with their legacy, while an ancient enemy approached, hungry for the energy of an entire galaxy. The race against time had begun. The Coalition defense fleet hung in the void like a glittering constellation, 12,000 ships arranged in defensive formations. At their center, the Hyperion towered over even the largest dreadnoughts, its quantum core pulsing with otherworldly energy. On the bridge, all 7 descendants had finally assembled. Dr. Maria Santos and Kutl's advisor, senior researcher Ixel, stood with their fellow genetic key holders as Athena initiated the final activation sequence. "Full genetic authentication confirmed," the AI announced. "All weapons systems online. quantum shield generators at maximum capacity. Through the main viewport, they watched the approaching anomaly, a wall of shifting purple-black energy that devoured light itself. The wave had already consumed 3 uninhabited star systems, leaving nothing but quantum-fractured void in its wake. Coalition vessels in position, Commander Chen reported from Tactical. But their sensors can barely detect the wave. Our enemies are operating on a level of technology we can't even comprehend. Not entirely true, Dr. Martins countered, studying the quantum readings. The Hyperion systems were designed to evolve during temporal stasis. Every second the wave existed in our spacetime gave ATGENA more data to analyze. The ship's AI projected a detailed tactical analysis. The wave consists of billions of quantum-scale harvester units, each programmed to break down matter at the subatomic level. They operate as a collective consciousness, but they have one critical vulnerability. Their synchronization, Ixal finished, their crystalline form shifting with excitement. That's why my ancestors agreed to join the Hyperion project. Our species' understanding of quantum harmonics was crucial to developing a counterweapon. Maya watched as the wave approached, its massive front spanning light years. ATGENA, begin the deployment sequence. Show us what this ship can really do. The Hyperion's hull thrummed as ancient weapons powered up for the first time in centuries. Panels shifted, revealing arrays of devices that defied conventional physics. Coalition vessels, maintain your distance, Captain Wallace broadcasted. The Hyperion will engage first. Quantum displacement field active, Dr. Petrov reported from engineering. Temporal shields at full power. Whatever happens, will exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. Just like our target. The wave accelerated suddenly, as if sensing the threat. Tendrils of dark energy reached out toward the Coalition fleet. Now, Maya commanded. The Hyperion's quantum core unleashed its power. Beams of coherent energy, twisted through multiple dimensions, lanced out from the ship's arrays. Where they struck the wave, the Harvester's perfect synchronization shattered. Direct hit, Commander Chen announced. Disruption effect at 30% and climbing. But the wave adapted quickly. New patterns formed in the chaos, and a massive surge of counter-energy struck the Hyperion's shields. Shields holding, Dr. Santos reported, her hands dancing across the engineering console. But they're learning, analyzing our weapon's frequency. That's impossible, Ixal protested. The quantum harmonics should have. They've had 3 centuries to evolve as well. ATGENA interrupted. Standard tactics will not be sufficient. Maya felt the weight of generations pressing down on her shoulders. Our ancestors knew this might happen. There has to be something else, something they built into this ship that even ATGENA doesn't know about yet. The 7 descendants shared a look of sudden understanding. Without speaking, they moved to form a circle around Athena's central interface. The genetic keys, Dr. Martins whispered. They're not just about authentication. Our DNA carries quantum patterns, passed down through generations. Combined genetic resonance initiated. ATGENA confirmed as they placed their hands on the interface. Accessing deep command protocols. Emergency directive unlocked. Protocol Omega. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed with blinding intensity. New systems, hidden beneath centuries of secrecy, came online. The ship's hull began to transform, metamaterials flowing like liquid metal. By the stars, Captain Wallace breathed. The ship isn't just a weapon platform. It's a key. Correct, ATGENA confirmed. The Hyperion was designed to unite not just 7 individuals, but 17 species. Coalition vessels, synchronize your shield frequencies with our transmission. Together, we can create a quantum resonance field strong enough to disrupt their entire collective consciousness. Through the viewport, they watched as the Coalition fleet's energy signatures shifted, aligning with the Hyperion's quantum field. The descendants stood united, channels for the combined power of their ancestors' greatest creation. As the wave rushed toward them, Maya thought of Elena Rodriguez and all the others who had sacrificed everything to give humanity and its allies this chance. "All ships," she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of centuries, "fire on my mark." The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as past and present prepared to face an enemy that threatened all of creation itself. Time seemed to slow as 17 species acted as one. The Hyperion's quantum field resonated with 12,000 coalition vessels, their combined energy signatures weaving into a pattern that transcended normal physics. The descending wave of harvesters met an ascending wall of unified defiance. "Coalition ships holding formation," Commander Chen reported, his hand steady on the tactical controls. "Quantum resonance at maximum strength." Through the viewport, space itself appeared to bend as the two forces collided. The harvester's purple-black energy met the iridescent shield of combined fleet power, creating a cosmic light show that would be visible across multiple sectors. Analysis confirms disruption of harvester synchronization, HFY announced, its holographic form pulsing with calculated intensity. Their collective consciousness is fragmenting, but they're attempting to adapt. Maya watched as the enemy shifted strategies, their billion-strong swarm reorganizing into new patterns. They've never encountered unified resistance before. All their previous victories came against isolated species. "Precisely," Dr. Martinez added, monitoring the quantum readings. "Our ancestors understood that survival required more than just advanced technology. It required cooperation on a scale never before achieved." The Hyperion systems hummed as the 7 descendants channeled their combined genetic resonance through the ship's quantum core. Captain Wallace coordinated with the coalition fleet, orchestrating their movements like a symphony conductor. "Enemy units attempting to breach our lines in Sector 7. Ixel reported, their crystalline form reflecting the battle's ethereal lights. "They're targeting ships with weaker quantum signatures. Divert power to those sectors," Maya commanded. "Dr. Santos, Dr. Petrov, reinforce their shield harmonics. We don't lose anyone today." The battle raged across light years of space, a dance of energy and will. The harvesters' attempts to divide and conquer met an unbreakable wall of unified resistance. Wherever they struck, the coalition fleet moved as one to counter them. Harvester synchronization down to 40%, HFY reported. "Their cognitive network is experiencing cascading failures. But our fleet's power reserves are dropping. We cannot maintain this level of quantum resonance indefinitely." Commander Chen's tactical display highlighted a concentration of enemy units. They're pulling back, gathering for one final assault. All their remaining power focused into a single point. "They're desperate," Dr. Martinez observed. "Their entire strategy relies on overwhelming isolated targets. They don't know how to fight an enemy that refuses to be divided." Maya felt the combined wisdom of generations flowing through her genetic connection to the ship. That's their weakness. Athena, prepare to execute Protocol Omega. Final phase. The eye's form expanded, connecting with every ship in the coalition fleet. Warning. Final phase will consume all remaining power reserves. There will be no second attempt. All ships acknowledge ready, Captain Wallace reported. "Whatever you're planning, the coalition stands with us." Maya looked at her fellow descendants, seeing the same determination in their eyes. "Our ancestors sent us the key to victory, but they knew the lock would require every species working together to turn it." The Harvester Armada surged forward, their combined power threatening to tear space-time itself. At that moment, Maya gave the command that 3 centuries of planning had prepared for. Protocol Omega. Execute. The Hyperion's quantum core blazed like a newborn star. Every ship in the coalition fleet pulsed in perfect harmony, their energy joining with the ancient vessel's power. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, reality cracked. The quantum resonance field collapsed inward, creating a temporal shockwave that caught the Harvester Armada at their moment of maximum vulnerability. Their perfect synchronization became their undoing as the wave of unified coalition energy shattered their collective consciousness. Billions of harvester units, suddenly cut off from their network, burned out in cascading waves of quantum fire. The purple-black energy that had devoured worlds dissipated like smoke in a breeze. On the Hyperion's bridge, systems slowly returned to normal power levels. The descendants looked out at the aftermath of history's greatest battle, not a victory of weapons, but of unity. Coalition ships reporting in, Captain Wallace announced, her voice thick with emotion. No losses. We didn't lose a single ship. Athena's form stabilized, its calculations complete. Harvester threat neutralized. Operation Long Watch. Mission accomplished. Maya thought of Elena Rodriguez and all those who had planned across centuries for this moment. They hadn't just built a weapon. They'd created a legacy of cooperation that transcended species and time itself. "Send word to the Coalition Council," she said quietly. Tell them that their children's children will know that on this day, we were not 17 species fighting side by side. We were one civilization, standing together." As the Coalition fleet regrouped around the Hyperion, the descendants of humanity's greatest gamble looked toward a future their ancestors had sacrificed everything to protect, a future they would now build together. The legend of the Hyperion was complete, but its legacy was just beginning.